The old man sat alone under the purple sky, staring out over the sand-covered ruins of what used to be a city. His back was bent like a question mark, and his skin looked like weathered paper, but his eyes were alive, sharp. He remembered a time when people believed aging was natural, even beautiful. Now, scattered across the world were labs trying to end it entirely. His breath rattled in the still air, and he wondered, how did we get here? How did something so deeply human as old as fire and hunger become a problem we were racing to erase? Long before biohacking millionaires and gene therapies, aging was not questioned. It was fate. But there was a moment it all began to shift, a moment buried thousands of years ago and nearly forgotten. And that story begins not with science, but with myths carved into stone. In ancient Mesopotamia, the world's first written myth, the Epic of Gilgamesh, tells of a king terrified by death. After losing his closest friend, Gilgamesh abandons his kingdom and crosses dangerous lands in search of eternal life. He finds a plant said to restore youth, but it is stolen while he sleeps. The lesson? Even kings can't outrun time. This story, over 4,000 years old, reveals something deep. Humans have always feared aging and tried to cheat it. From the start, growing old was seen not just as nature's clock, but as a flaw we might one day fix. Through myth, people began reshaping how they saw age not as something to accept, but as something to challenge. But while stories warned us that chasing immortality could bring tragedy, others suggested age itself might be a punishment, not a gift. And in one surprising civilization, that belief shaped medicine, religion, and even war. In ancient Egypt, aging was more than biology, it was destiny. Pharaohs believed they aged because their divine energy shifted into the next world. Mummification wasn't just about preserving bodies, it was about preparing for life after decay, where youth was promised anew. Medical papyri from over 3,000 years ago describe baldness cures made from crocodile fat and elixirs to revive the heart. But these weren't just cosmetic. Egyptians saw old age as spiritual imbalance, something that could be corrected. Even their gods had cycles of death and rebirth, as if time could loop rather than march forward. Some hieroglyphs show elders with walking sticks bending toward the earth, yet in tomb paintings, the same figures rise again, youthful and whole. To them, age was not an end, but a test. Lose the test, and you withered permanently. Pass it, you could be reborn. But while the Egyptians looked to the afterlife for answers, a different culture began asking if aging could be solved before death ever came. In ancient China, aging was seen not only as a natural journey but something that could be influenced by harmony or disrupted by imbalance. During the Han Dynasty, alchemists hunted for the elixir of life, mixing dangerous mercury with herbs in the hopes of defying time. Emperors, desperate to extend their lives, consumed these concoctions. Many died younger because of them. Yet at the same time, Taoist philosophy taught that aging could be slowed through disciplined calm breath, still mind, balanced spirit. Documents from as early as 200 BCE describe Qigong practices believed to restore vitality. Painted scrolls show serene elders stretching beneath pine trees, a symbol of long life. To them, age was a reward for living in balance with nature. But not everyone agreed. As time passed, so did patience. Somewhere in the modern world, a new idea took root that didn't just question aging, but declared war against it. The 20th century sparked a wildfire of obsession with youth. In 1939, Russian biologist Alexander Bogdanov died after transfusing a young man's blood into his own body, hoping to rejuvenate himself. Across the ocean, early plastic surgery took off not to heal wounds of war, but to smooth the lines of age. By the 1960s, scientists had discovered that certain cells could divide only a limited number of times, a biological countdown now known as the Hayflick limit. This shattered the old belief that aging was just wear and tear. Instead, it hinted at something deeper, that aging might be programmed, and maybe, someday, reprogrammed. Laboratories across the world began chasing this clue. By the early 2000s, researchers found that shortening telomeres, the protective ends of chromosomes, were like burning fuses. Each tick of the clock carved into our DNA. But the more we understood about the code, the more determined some became to rewrite it. And soon, one bold discovery would light a firestorm of hope and fear across the globe. In 2006, A Japanese scientist named Shinya Yamanaka made a discovery that changed everything. He found that just 4 specific genes could rewind adult cells back to a youthful, flexible state, what scientists call pluripotency. These became known as the Yamanaka factors, and they shattered the idea that aging was a one-way street. Animal studies soon showed early signs of reversal. Older mice healed faster, moved more freely, even lived longer when their cells were partially reprogrammed. Overnight, aging shifted from a mystery to a puzzle that might be solved. But with new hope came deep unease. Were we tampering with biology at a level too dangerous to control? Could resetting cells increase the risk of cancer? Could the rich buy time while others were left behind? These questions quickly left the lab and entered policy rooms, tabloids, late-night talk shows. Humanity stood at a doorway. Behind us, millennia of accepting age as a part of life. Ahead, a path where age might become optional. But what happens to user purpose, our memories, our meaning if we lose the one thing that has always defined us? The passage of time, the race to slow, stop, or even reverse aging is no longer just science fiction. Across Silicon Valley and global biotech hubs, billions are being poured into age-defying startups. In 2021, a secretive company called Altos Labs emerged, backed by tech billionaires and Nobel-winning scientists, focused entirely on cellular rejuvenation. Others, like Calico and Retro Biosciences, are exploring everything from reprogrammed cells to synthetic blood. Some trials in animals have shown remarkable results: mice with restored eyesight, increased muscle strength, even extended lifespans. But there's a darker side. Critics warn these advances may widen the gap between rich and poor, turning health into privilege. What happens when only some can afford to stay young? And what kind of world do we create when death becomes negotiable? For all we've gained in knowledge, something remains unchanged. We still measure life by beginnings and endings. If aging becomes a choice, the question isn't just what we can do, but what we should. Today, the fight against aging is no longer just a medical pursuit, becoming a cultural and even psychological shift. In some corners of society, growing old is no longer seen as a phase of wisdom or rest, but as a failure of ambition, a bug to be patched. Supplements, stem cell banks, age clocking, biometrics all promise extra years, maybe decades. But while we chase longevity, we risk forgetting something older than any lab discovery: that aging connects us. Across generations, aging has been the thread woven through memory, love, and loss. Without it, how do we mark time with our children or grandparents? How do songs, photos, and stories hold their meaning if no one grows old enough to pass them down? The future may hold longer lives, even ageless ones, but to move forward, we must face a final, haunting question. In conquering aging, might we also lose the very soul of being human? The old man rises slowly from the stone he's been sitting on, bones cracking like dry branches. The horizon glows, not with the warmth of sunrise, but with the electric hum of a distant facility, one rumored to have extended human life by decades. He's seen the world forget what it meant to age with honor, with grace. Now, billions chase a future where time bows to technology, but he wonders, will we still cherish the fleeting touch of a wrinkled hand? Will we listen to stories carved by decades, or erase them in the name of progress? He doesn't know the answer, but as he begins the slow walk back to the ruins of his past, he hopes we remember. Aging isn't just about decline, it's the shape of memory, the rhythm of love, the keeper of truth. And perhaps, even in a world racing to outlive itself, there's still wisdom in letting time unfold. Behind every wrinkle there is a story. Some are etched by laughter, others by grief. In our rush to erase the marks time leaves behind, we risk erasing the lessons they carry: stories of survival, of courage, of love tested and endured. We forget that the lines on an aging face are maps, the roads we've walked, the storms we've braved. Our future may offer tools to smooth skin, to rebuild cells, even to pause the ticking clock. But no technology can replace the quiet strength of a hand that has held on through decades, or the wisdom in eyes that have seen generations rise and fall. If we are to extend life, let it be not just in years, but in meaning. Let the future of aging be one where we don't just add time, but deepen the life within it. In the end, Perhaps the real breakthrough won't be in living forever, but in finally learning how to live fully before the moment slips away. For all our science, ambition, and fear, the truth is simple. Aging is not the enemy, it's the echo of time passing through us. It is how we carry our ancestors forward, how we anchor the future in the soil of the past. We may come closer than ever to breaking nature's rules, perhaps even rewriting them entirely. But no matter how long we live, life only has meaning because it ends. The gift of aging isn't just survival, it's the chance to leave behind pieces of ourselves in those we touch. And so, whether we race toward eternity or choose to age one breath at a time, the story of human aging will always be more than just biology. It is the story of who we are and who we dare to become.